All right, so I'm so excited to start this next part of our unit because it deals with my favorite number, 10. We're going to start with powers of 10 and using exponents. Now the word exponent, right, exponent, is going to be that little number that's up at the top. You can see there's a 1 here, a 2 here, a 4 here, and a 0 in the exponent spot. So it's going to be like kind of up and to the right in the little corner. It's going to be written smaller. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we're going to you fill out, you have a table like this. It's bigger than this because obviously I'm not going to do all of them for you. And so what I wanted to do is point out the patterns because this unit is a lot about patterns. So with our first one, we've got 10 to the first power. That's how you say it. 10 to the first power, 10 to the second power, 10 to the fourth power. Okay? And basically what this is saying is it's saying it's the same thing as 10. 10 to the first power is the same thing as 10. Okay, and we've got our free forms, exponential, which is the exponents, factor, and then standard. Okay, so for our 10 to the second power, that's the same thing as doing 10 times 10. So our exponent is going to be how many times do we multiply a number by itself. So this is saying for the number 10, I'm multiplying the number 10 twice. Once, twice. Okay? That makes sense? I'm not doing 10 times 2. I'm doing 10 times 10. I'm multiplying the number by itself the amount of times the exponent says. And the standard form for that is, what is the answer to 10 times 10? 100. Okay? Now usually, you'll be able to use your exponent as a little trick. We'll tell you how many zeros are in the standard form. So for example, 10 to the first power, there's 1. There's 1 0 in 10. 10 to the second power, there's 2 zeros in 100. So going off this pattern, we've got 10 to the first, 10 to the second, blank, 10 to the fourth. And in my head, based on the pattern, and also based on the fact that there are 3 10s being multiplied here, this should say 10 to the third power. Now, if we go based off my little trick, I need to write my 1 and 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. So if I follow this pattern, I should have 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 zeros, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that match the exponent? It does. 10 to the fourth power. So for our factor form, if 10 to the third power is 3 10s multiplied by itself, 10 to the fourth power is 4 10s multiplied together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, you don't have 10 to the 0 power on your sheet, but I want you to add it at the very bottom. There's a small space where I want you to write 10 to the 0 power. Okay, this one doesn't necessarily follow the rules of these, and that's why it's not on your chart. So I'm just going to tell you 10 to the 0 power is the same thing as 1. It's just going to be 1. Has nothing, well, it does have something to do with 10, but 10 to the 0 power is equal to 1. Okay, you do need to know that because in future homeworks, that will be on them. Now to give you some examples of how to do the bottom part, because the example looks a little complicated. All it's doing is it's starting with your exponential form, and it's going to ask you to then create it as factor form, and then it's going to ask you to then create it as standard form and solve. Okay, so all it's doing is basically having you fill in a chart again, but without the chart. So now we're actually going to do the multiplying, which is up here. by powers of 10. So we're starting with 105 times 10 to the second power. So again, it's going to start in this exponential form, and then you're going to now do the factor form. So you're going to write 105 times, in parentheses, remember we're familiar with parentheses from volume, and we're going to write 10 to the second power, or 10 squared, same thing. 10 to the second power in its standard form. And I see up here, that means 10 times 10. 10 times 10. And yes, you do have to write all this out. Then it's going to ask you, this is your factor form, and then it's going to ask you to use it in standard form. So you'll just write it as 105. I'm getting that from this original equation, times 10 to the second power is the same thing as 100. Now my job is to actually solve it. So if we remember, multiplying by 10, all you have to do is count the amount of zeros you have, 1, 2, and move your decimal place, which if we can't see it, I'll write this again down here. If we can't see it as at the end of a number, right? And move it 1, 2 decimal places to the right, because we want our number to get bigger because we are multiplying, okay? So then we're going to do 1, 2. So now my decimal place is here, and in these two loops, you put your placeholders, zeros. So in this case, your answer is, forgot the 0 in there. Here's your answer. Okay, sorry if that's a little hard to read. 10500. Okay, in this case, it looked like you just added 2 zeros to the end. But in my next example, I'm going to show you why you can't just add 2 zeros to the end. Okay, what's actually happening is each digit is moving one place value, well in this case, 2 place values up, getting bigger. So it's going to make it look like the decimal point is moving. Okay, so it's very important that you do this in the next one. All right, so we've got our 12. Again, we're starting with our exponential form. Then we're going to our factor form. This was standard. I want to make sure that's labeled, okay? So I'm taking my original number, 12.63, okay? Then I'm multiplying it by my factor form of 10 to the 5th power, okay? So this 5 is telling me I'm multiplying 10 together 5 times. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, that's 4 times 10. Okay, so this, I did my factor form. And this should all be in one line, but I'm writing a little too big, so I'm going to have to go on to the next line. Then I'm moving to my standard form. So again, taking my original 12.63, and I'm multiplying it by my exponent, and my 5 is telling me there's 5 zeros after the 1, times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And then I need to solve. So again, this is telling me I need to move my decimal point 5 spots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots to the right. Okay, so I'm going to take my original 12.63, I'm going to move it 1 spot, 2 spots, 3, 4, 5. Again, I'm going to place my placeholders, which will be zeros, to give me a final answer of 1, 2, 6, 3, 0, 0, 0.